Hello everybody, welcome to What About the Game. Today I'm going to be talking about Fate Extella, the Umbral star, on the PlayStation Vita. Fate Extella is a single-player action game based on the Fate series created by developer Type Moon. Starting as a visual novel geared towards adults, the series never quite took off in the West, only reaching a niche audience with its latest spin-off games. Back again, the series turns to the Dynasty Warriors games for inspiration by becoming a hack and slash. The Umbral star attempts to have a high focus on storytelling. In fact, the story mode campaign contains just as much talking as it does battlefield action. Maybe those who appreciate the characters and the world presented here will find that a good thing, but it just doesn't work for me, and I will explain why later. At the beginning, you can create a character in the very basic of senses. You choose between a boy or a girl and then decide a name. This character is the master of this universe or something after winning a war in the past. However, he doesn't actually seem to be the master. His servant turns out to be the master, king, emperor, or whatever in this digital world. It literally makes no sense. But whatever, it's crazy in Japanese. They've had worse premises. The story seems impenetrable due to there being lots of made up words and names and terminology. Maybe if you followed the series before, then you'll have some of the terminology, but the majority of it went over my head. A messy plot I can just about deal with. What I can't ignore is the frankly embarrassing dialogue between the master and servant protagonists. The levels of cringe are off the scale. They're abrupt, shoehorned in, and ruin just about any interest in the story of the characters. It genuinely got so annoying at one point, I began skipping the dialogue and scenes altogether. The dialogue feels like it was written by a schoolboy who doesn't know how real people interact. I know I let games like Senran Kagura pass freely, but that's because it's the joke of the game. It's self-aware and knows what it is. I think Fate Extella is taking itself seriously. Considering the pathetic dialogue is about half of the game, you're probably already deciding not to buy it, but don't be so hasty, because there is a saving grace to Fate Extella. The gameplay is excellent. It's Dynasty Warriors at its finest. You press the square button to perform a normal attack, and the triangle for a heavy attack. Depending on which combination of these you mash together, your character will perform a unique move. It's incredibly satisfying to play and lay waste to thousands of enemies in one stage. Naturally, following the Masu series of games, the circle button performs a more powerful attack called the Extella maneuver, but this needs to be charged up in segments by defeating enemies or picking up items. Then there's the Moon Crux or drive. Again, if you fight enough enemies, you will charge up a separate gauge, which can be unleashed by holding the down on the D-pad and the X button. This is where you go into sort of overdrive mode, in which you become a lot more powerful and destroy just about everything around you. The final weapon in your arsenal is the Noble Phantasm, which is gained by collecting 3 parts of a computer chip looking thingy. These are scattered around the map and are very scarce, but are certainly worth seeking out, since it will annihilate everything and is a big help during boss battles. So how do battles work? Battlefields are divided into different sectors. Your army controls a certain amount, usually half, and the opposing forces have the rest. All in all, it's a territory war, and an incredibly frenetic one at that. You invade sectors while defending your own. The enemy's AI is actually quite ferocious, especially at the beginning of each stage, where they'll quickly overwhelm you if you don't achieve the objectives fast enough. To win the battle, you need to accumulate enough points that's calculated by the sectors you own. Each sector has a different value. Some are worth 1 point, others 2 or 3. If you acquire enough points, then the stage boss will turn up for you to fight. I actually really like the battles in Fate Extella. They're fast and dynamic with just enough difficulty to make you sweat a little. I like the territorial aspect too, since it can be quite strategic. One minor nitpick is that since the characters speak Japanese, it's difficult to follow the flow of battle sometimes, since they'll issue instructions and the only ways you can read it is by looking at the lower right of the screen. And since the characters have an almost constant stream of things to say, whether relevant or not, makes it not the easiest thing to follow. The stages themselves are really glorious, colourful, weird, and have a lot of life to them. They can be fairly small, but it works well. Compared to other recent hack and slash games that I've played like Dynasty Warriors with its dull colours and Senran Kagura with its cheap, flat, sparse areas, Fate Extella is really a step up. Sadly, there aren't many of them. There are 3 stories to play through. At first you can only play with the servant Nero. After you complete her story, you unlock another character's story, and then again another. Going by battles, each story is quite short, especially if you can't stomach the dialogue like me and skipped most of those parts. Each story will last you a couple of hours with only a handful of battles each. It doesn't sound like much, but there are a dozen or so side quests to experience with each of the main character's vassals, which are shorter, have less story, thankfully, and repeat battles already fought. But it's nice to play around with them. I think there is enough content here to get your money's worth. Presentation wise, Fate Extella the Umbral Star is pretty smart. It looks great on the Vita, character models are well done, the stages are excellent, the effects look great, and the performance is top notch. It also translates well on the PlayStation TV. Likewise, the music is great and I love the somber main theme, but then again I'm a sucker for pensive piano pieces. There are of course more thumping pieces for the battles, and they are also really good. Overall, Fate Extella is an excellent and fun hack and slash game that's unfortunately marred by an atrociously written story and dialogue. Thankfully that's skippable, and so can be excused, although not by those who do enjoy a good story. I thoroughly enjoyed playing this game, and it not only scratched my hack and slash itch, but it also made me desire even more, thanks to the dynamic battles and smooth, satisfying combos. Okay guys, if you've enjoyed this review then be sure to like and subscribe, that will help me out. You can read the full review of Fate Extella at whataboutthegame.com, and you can keep up to date with everything I do by following me on Facebook and Twitter. All the links are below. Thanks guys, bye bye.